Summer break is coming, and gamers, that means one thing: time. Real, unlimited, glorious free time with no deadlines, no obligations, and no excuse not to finally dive into those epic RPGs you've been putting off for months. But here's the thing: not all RPGs are created equal. Some will grab you in the first 5 minutes and not let go until the credits roll. Others will give you hundreds of hours of world building, character progression, and storylines so deep they'll actually change the way you think. The question isn't whether you should play an RPG this summer, it's which ones are actually worth your time. Today, we've got the answer. These are the 20 best RPGs you need to experience before summer break hits so you can spend those long, warm days completely lost in another world. Let's get into it.
A 12-year-old indie game that broke gaming culture into before and after Undertale. The idea of an RPG where you don't have to fight anyone sounds weird until you play it and realize that changes everything about how you think about games. The soundtrack is phenomenal, the characters are memorable, and the story respects you enough to make you question every decision. 6 to 20 hours, depending on how thorough you are, and there are multiple playthroughs worth doing. It will hit you emotionally in ways you don't expect. The more you know about it going in, the less you'll appreciate the actual experience, so just go in blind. Trust me.
They rebuilt one of gaming's most iconic stories from the ground up, and instead of being a cash grab, it's genuinely fantastic. Action combat that feels incredible. You're switching between Cloud, Barrett, Tifa mid-battle, building up limit breaks. The expanded character moments give everyone real depth. The story respects what came before, while carving its own path and making you question what's actually happening. 30 to 40 hours and you're left wondering how they're going to top this with the next installment. The boss fights are chef's kiss. The side quests actually tell interesting stories. This is how you do a remake.
Here's the one for speedrunners, or people who have limited time but refuse to compromise on quality. 30 to 40 hours, but those hours are packed with fluid, real-time combat that feels satisfying every single time. You're playing Alphen, a guy with basically no memories, freeing oppressed people and building a team that's got genuine chemistry. Character development that actually goes somewhere, arcs that conclude meaningfully. The story about freedom and revolution has weight. Plus, the skits between characters are genuinely funny and add depth. It respects your time and your intelligence, and there's zero filler. Forget everything you think you know about Final Fantasies. This is an action game first, RPG second, and it's absolutely breathtaking. Boss fights that'll make you stand up from your couch. You're dodging, parrying, timing spells, and each boss feels like a completely different dance. The story about war and dragons actually means something. Midgard is at war, kingdoms are falling, and you're Clive watching your world crumble and trying to change fate. 35 to 50 hours of pure spectacle that's still technically an RPG with upgrades and ability progression. The way this game respects the legacy of Final Fantasy while doing something completely different is brilliant. This franchise reinvented itself and immediately became untouchable. Infinite Wealth is somehow a game about a homeless man in Hawaii that's both hilarious and genuinely heartwarming. You've got mini-games that are almost better than the main game, running a chicken restaurant, hawking street goods, dating mini-games. The main story is surprisingly emotional, characters feel real, and the writing is some of the best in gaming. 60+ hours you'll never regret. The combat system is turn-based and satisfying. The character interactions are genuinely funny, and there's this heart to the whole thing that makes you care about every interaction.
Okay, so it's technically action-adventure, but the RPG systems are deep enough to count, and the boss fights alone justify playing this. Based on Journey to the West, you're the Monkey King, and this game is challenging in the best way. Bosses that humble you, forcing you to learn patterns and actually get good. The skill system is deep. You're constantly tweaking your build, trying new combos, and there's legitimate build variety. 40 to 60 hours of just one more attempt energy. The story unfolds beautifully across different regions, each with their own aesthetic. You'll be talking about specific boss fights all summer.
8 different stories, 8 different protagonists, and somehow they all weave together perfectly. The HD 2D art style is genuinely stunning. It shouldn't work, but it absolutely does. You've got a cleric, a thief, a dancer, a merchant, and they're all investigating their own mysteries that slowly connect. Tactical turn-based combat where positioning matters. You're breaking enemy defenses, setting up weakness chains. Towns that feel alive. NPCs with actual personalities. The soundtrack is a work of art. Every town theme, every battle theme is stuck in your head. 40 hours of pure craft that respects the JRPG tradition while doing something fresh.
This just hit last year, and it's the perfect example of how 2025-2026 gaming is reaching insane heights. Real-time combat that feels like a conversation between you and the game's systems. You're commanding a squad, positioning matters, and every decision in battle cascades into consequences. The squad you're building actually has chemistry. 40 to 50 hours, and you're thinking about it for weeks after. The art direction is stunning, the voice acting is top tier, and the mystery of what Claire Obscure actually is keeps you hooked. Plus, the way the game respects your intelligence by not over-explaining everything is refreshing.
There's something magical about a game that just lets you enjoy yourself without pretending to be dark or gritty. Dragon Quest XI is pure adventure. Colorful world, characters that make you smile, actual jokes that land. You're the luminary, the world's in danger, and you've got a crew of misfits that become like family. 80 hours of just vibing in a world that respects your time. The side quests are actually interesting. The story has genuine emotional beats, and there's this cozy feeling like you're reading a really good book. It's comfort food, but it's also genuinely brilliant. The horse riding feels good, the cities feel alive, and you won't regret a single hour. The 2024 remake that absolutely delivered when people were skeptical. This isn't just a fresh coat of paint, it's a complete overhaul of a 20-year-old classic with new story content that makes you question everything. You're a student by day, literally shooting yourself in the head with an evoker gun to summon demons by night. Wild, right? The social link system means the relationships you build actually determine your power progression. 80 to 120 hours later, you'll understand why people are still talking about this. The soundtrack is hypnotic, the character development is chef's kiss, and the ending will absolutely wreck you emotionally. This is what happens when a small team decides to make the most beautiful 2D RPG of the decade. Pixel art that'll make you stop and just stare. The water reflections alone are worth the price of admission. Turn-based combat with actual strategy. Your timing hits to interrupt enemy attacks, setting up combos, and there's zero potting. The story about 2 kids saved by the sun and moon, destined to fight an immortal sorcerer, sounds simple, but goes places you won't expect. 25 to 40 hours, completely done. It's pure, undiluted JRPG joy. No weird gimmicks, no endless side quests, just perfection. 9 years later, and this is still the gold standard for story-driven RPGs. Geralt of Rivia is investigating a supernatural killer. You're making impossible choices, and literally every side quest has more depth than most games' main stories. You'll be collecting contracts, dealing with monsters, and getting emotionally invested in a butcher and a fisherman's relationship. The expansions, Blood and Wine especially, are basically full games themselves. The world reacts to your choices in ways that matter. Characters remember what you did, and the consequences stick with you. It's not just a game, it's a masterclass in world building that holds up perfectly in 2026. Also, the romance with Yennefer hits different. Look, if you haven't fought Millennia yet, you're missing out on the most satisfying boss fight in gaming history. Elden Ring is exploration perfection. You can basically go anywhere, find something ridiculous, nearly die, and somehow that's the best moment ever. You'll stumble into a cave expecting treasure, and instead find a demigod that one-shots you, and you know what? That's peak gaming. The world design is insane. Hidden dungeons, secret bosses, lore hidden in item descriptions. It's brutal, it's beautiful, and it's absolutely worth the summer investment. You'll rage quit, you'll scream, and you'll love every second of it. And if it gets too hard, you can literally go somewhere else and come back stronger. It respects player agency. If Persona 3 Reload blew your mind 2 years back, the Scene Studio just dropped something that might be even better. Metaphor's got this insane dark fantasy world where you're basically leading a revolution against an oppressive system. The turn-based combat feels incredible. You're building a team, fusing personas, and the social link system means every character matters. 60 to 70 hours and it's done. Perfectly paced, no filler. The story twist in the third act, you won't see it coming. The music absolutely slaps. The character arcs are genuinely emotional, and the final boss fight is one for the history books. Trust me on this one. Okay, if you've somehow avoided this conversation for the past 3 years, it's because Baldur's Gate 3 is genuinely one of the best games ever made. Turn-based Dungeons & Dragons combat, characters you'll actually care about, and here's the kicker. You can beat someone to death with a scratch and suddenly win. You'll be making decisions that actually matter, failing spectacularly, and somehow that's the best part. The voice acting is phenomenal, your companions feel like actual friends, and there are romance options that'll make you lose sleep. One playthrough, you're looking at 100+ hours of pure gaming bliss. And the best part, you're only seeing like 40% of the content on your first run. This isn't just an RPG, it's your summer.